Hey, my homies. Full disclosure, okay, I'm a boomer. Now, you've seen me stumble unabashedly on camera here, stung by technology. And I've apologized, but I don't know what I'm apologizing about. It's not like I'm getting old. I'm just trying to stay young on the learning curve of life here. Uh, Hi, I'm John Smale, and this is another in the series of Smalespace, a video blog I'm doing about a time and a place in my life back in the 70s when I owned a club in London, Ontario. And, just had another birthday. Yes. And that's a good thing, it's a good thing having birthday because you're on the right side of the snow or the grass, whatever the season. And I feel like a rather fortunate man for all the well wishes and so that's all good. I'm very fortunate. However, age seems to be all over the news these days. And I don't, people asking, well, what are you? And I don't think they mean, are you a Capricorn with a Gemini moon and rising? I don't think they mean that. What they mean is Gen X, Millennial, Gen Y, Boomer, Zoomer. And it's kind of said in a sarcastic and demeaning way. And I think that's all BS. It's intergenerational warfare, is what it is, and it appears to me like that's a real fool's game, a mug's game, a fool's paradise, whatever. It's like self-fulfilling, if you get into that stuff. Politicians are exploiting us all the time these days, about religion or gender or race, and it's creeping in. And do we really want to add to that by playing one off against each other, like one generation off each other, for example? I don't think so. Now, what we do need is more cooperation and understanding and collaboration. We don't need more divisiveness. And now, I've I've spoken in various chapters in this video episodes about my generation growing up in the 70s, as that was the time when I was coming to age as a young man. And it's a bit of a palindrome, I think, is the literary term, where your name is Bob and you can spell it backwards. Now that I'm in my 70s, I was growing up in the 70s, and this is what this is all about. So there's, some context there. Now, was I a Holden Caulfield in Catcher in the Rye? Was I a James Dean in Rebel Without a Cause? No, not at all. I was just, as I've said before, finding my way and stumbling along. And did I trust people over 30? Of course I did. I had many friends over the age of 30, and as today, I hope I have friends under the age of 30. I relate well, I think, to them. I hope they relate well to me. I don't want to get paranoid here. It's just that we like to categorize things, and we categorize because we live in a time of chaos, and so we like to give labels to things, And over on the screen here, well, wrong way, Smalesy. Over there is a rough guide to the generations, and this is something I did a poor scan of from Maclean's magazine, and it starts at boomers, but it really goes on long before that. For instance, my parents' generation were called the silent generation, and they'd gone through the Great Depression, they'd gone through World War II, and then they were raising their children in sort of that Cold War era, and doing the best job that they could do. Our rebelliousness as a generation started in the home over things like hair, over music, not unlike other generations, I suppose. And, my mother blamed the Beatles that her sons were, not in traditional jobs, and we were, what's wrong with those Beatles? What have they done to the world? Oh my God. And, my brothers and I were fine. We had good values. We had strong character, and, personalities and all that stuff, and we didn't turn out bad. Now, just as every generation, you're trying to tell us that millennials are lazy and they're not motivated and whatever. BS, they're just as motivated as any other generation. And just because I'm baffled by technology doesn't make me stupid. At least I hope it doesn't make me stupid. When I looked at the back of my entertainment unit last night, because Patty says, John, you got to do something. We're not getting Netflix. And I looked back there, and all I could see was a snake pit, and all these cables and wires and connections, and I'm pretty good with understanding that tab A goes into slot B and all that stuff. But as soon as you start attaching a cable to it, I get a little dizzy, and it's like looking under my desk here. Like, if I had another camera here, I'd go under my desk and say, look at this, folks, look at this technology here. But back to the generation thing here. I just want to read a couple fun facts here. The boomers, they're born between 1946 and 64. And a fun fact is that women had an average of 3.7 kids during the baby boom era. Wow, that's, if we had that many kids happening today, we wouldn't have problems with schools being empty and needing immigration to fill jobs, etc. But that's a fact of life. We watched the moon landing. That's sort of a dominant fact, I suppose, of that era. Just a fun fact. That's all it is. Generation X, born between 1965 and 1980. A fun fact about them, they inherited a very large debt, like $767 billion. Well, we all did, I suppose. And what was dominant in their visual thinking at the time? They watched the fall of the Berlin Wall. That's interesting. Now, the millennials, or Generation Y, born between 1981 and 96. A fun fact about them, they are the most, and this is a great fun fact, they're the most educated generation in Canadian history. Good for you. Now, what was peculiar to them watching was 9/11. Now, we all watched it, but this is something dominant in their brains that happened to them. Generation Z. Now, these are born between 1997 and 2012. And they're a huge bump in the generation because of the population, like 2.5 billion people in the world now. And we're not having the babies, but the rest of the world is having babies. And what's their fun fact? Oh my God. They watched Donald Trump being elected the President of the United States. I rest my case. You see, we're all generations. We all share things together. We shared that bit of together. But, folks, let's get together. Let's have a big group hug here. Oh, John, that feels so good. We're all the same. We're going on this merry-go-round, and I hope we have some fun along the way. I hope the good days outnumber the bad. I hope, when the Who sang that song about my generation, I hope I die before I get old. Forget about that. As my friend Eric said to me the other day, he said, John, remember when we were the young Turks? Now we're the old turkeys. Let's have some fun like that. Let's just enjoy life, and let's get back together. If you're enjoying this series, don't forget to subscribe. We'll send you out a notification if there's another one of these crazy things coming up. And have a good time, and see you soon.